So let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's explainer. We're going to unpack the definitive, fully science-backed pyramid of steps to permanently lose that incredibly stubborn belly fat. Look, if you've ever felt like you're doing absolutely everything right, eating well, working out, but your midsection just refuses to shrink, yeah, you are the exact right place. We're going to break down the actual biology, the precise math, and the psychological tactics you need to finally see real results. But first, we really have to validate a super common frustration. Why is belly fat literally the absolute last thing to disappear? I promise you, it's not all in your head, and it's definitely not a lack of effort. Biologically speaking, the fat you can actually pinch on your stomach, that's subcutaneous fat. And interestingly, subcutaneous fat has way fewer fat-breaking cells compared to visceral fat, which is the dangerous, hidden fat around your organs. So your body just isn't equipped to burn it off quickly. It is quite literally designed to be the very last energy reserve your body taps into. Crazy, right? So here's our logical roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll cover the truth about body fat. Second, diet and PFC balance. Third, exercise and lifestyle habits. And fourth, the secret to consistency. All right, starting off with section 1, the truth about body fat, which is the absolute foundation of fat loss. Now, we need to completely challenge how we measure our initial diet success because, well, let's face it, the bathroom scale is lying to you. When you start a new diet, you might see a quick 1 or 2 kilogram drop in the first couple of days, and you get super excited, right? But honestly, that rapid drop is mostly just water weight and a reduction in bodily swelling, usually from just cutting carbs. True fat loss is an entirely different beast. It only happens under one specific biological condition, when the calories you burn consistently exceed the calories you consume. That's a caloric deficit. You just cannot hack this equation. Moving right along to section 2, diet and PFC balance. This is where we master the math. Okay, get a load of this massive number, 900. This actually comes from a fascinating study out of Essex University. Researchers ask over 200 people to self-report their daily food intake. And the result? People unconsciously underestimated their daily calorie intake by an average of 900 kilocalories. To put that into perspective, that is the exact equivalent of blindly eating 3 extra cheeseburgers every single day without even realizing it. Basically, if you don't track accurately, your brain will totally trick you into thinking you're in a deficit when you are actually in a massive surplus. And when you look at the calories per gram for your macronutrients, you really start to understand the math of PFC balance. That's protein, fat, and carbs. Protein and carbs, they both sit at 4 kilocalories per gram. But fat is a massive 9 kilocalories per gram. It is more than double. This shows exactly why targeting dietary fats is basically the smartest, most efficient way to cut your overall daily calories without feeling like you're starving all the time. Which perfectly leads us to the most sustainable approach for everyday people, the fat restriction diet. A lot of trendy diets force you to completely drop carbohydrates, which, let's be real, is absolutely miserable if you love things like white rice or pasta. But with this method, you can keep your favorite carbs. You just simply swap out high-fat items. Taking the skin off your chicken, avoiding heavily fried foods, or maybe choosing a lean white fish over a fatty one. It keeps your calories totally in check while keeping your sanity completely intact. But to really make this work, you've got to hit your protein goals, which should roughly be double your body weight in grams. Here's the catch, though. You can't eat it all at once. Your body can only absorb about 30 grams of protein in a single sitting, so you have to strategically spread it out across your day. You want to start with protein immediately in the morning. That stops muscle breakdown after you've been fasting all night. Then have some carbs and protein for lunch. At dinner, you want to reduce those carbs since you're just going to bed anyway, and really focus on the protein. And hey, if you're still short on your macro goals, a pre-bed protein shake is a great little safety net. All right, let's jump into section 3, exercise and lifestyle habits to really accelerate that fat loss. Now, we are going to strike down the absolute oldest fitness misconception in the book. Doing hundreds of sit-ups is not going to burn your belly fat. Spot reduction is, quite frankly, biologically impossible. There was this 6-week US study that took men and women and had them strictly train their abs. And guess what? At the end of the study, their abdominal muscles were definitely stronger and thicker, but their belly fat circumference hadn't changed even a tiny bit. You just cannot command your body where to pull fat from. It doesn't work like that. So if ab workouts aren't the secret, what about cardio? Well, there's a huge paradox here. Yes, running burns around 700 calories an hour, while walking burns roughly 370. So on paper, running looks like the totally obvious winner, right? However, intense, high-impact cardio like running can actually cause your body to break down muscle for energy if you're in a caloric deficit. And losing muscle lowers your resting metabolism, which is terrible for fat loss. Walking, on the other hand, burns pure fat without breaking down your hard-earned muscle. So for long-term, permanent fat loss, walking is definitely the clear, sustainable winner. And beyond the gym, your daily habits are either working for you or against you. First up, you actually want to avoid oversleeping on the weekends. Why? Because it leaves your body without protein for way too long, which causes muscle breakdown. You do, however, want to ensure you get a solid 6 to 8 hours of sleep nightly. Poor sleep directly spikes ghrelin, that's your hunger hormone, which practically forces you to crave late-night junk food. Also, make sure to drink about 2 liters of room temperature water a day to expand dietary fiber in your stomach, keeping you full. And finally, you got to actively manage your stress to lower cortisol, because cortisol is absolutely notorious for hoarding belly fat. Bringing us to our final part, Section 4, the secret to consistency, or how to actually make all of this stick. Okay, I really want you to let this shocking number sink in. 4%. Only 4% of people actually stick with their gym routine for a full year. That means 96% of people completely fail. Why is that number so high? Because they aim for extreme perfectionism. You know the type. They try to work out 6 days a week, eat nothing but plain chicken and broccoli, and the literal second they slip up, they just throw in the towel and quit entirely. Perfectionism is absolutely the fastest, most guaranteed route to failure. So, the mindset shift you really need is this. No food is completely forbidden. Seriously, you do not have to live a miserable life just to lose belly fat. You can eat ramen. You can eat a slice of cake. But you have to respect the math. If you know you're going out for a heavy carb and fat-loaded dinner, you simply adjust your breakfast and lunch to be incredibly lean protein. It's all about balancing your total daily calories and your macro numbers. It is a puzzle, and you control the pieces. And look, when you inevitably hit a plateau, because we all do, you need tools, not panic. First off, do not freak out over daily scale changes. True fat loss takes about 1 to 2 weeks to biologically process and actually show up on the scale. If you are truly stuck after a couple of weeks, try recalculating your macros, because as you lose weight, your body naturally needs fewer calories. And paradoxically, sometimes the single most effective way to break a stall is to take a complete rest day. Deep fatigue causes your body to hold on to stress and water weight. By resting, you drop that stress, and suddenly, boom, you wake up a kilogram lighter. Which brings us to a final thought I want to leave you with. Will you strive for absolute perfection, try to completely overhaul your entire life by tomorrow morning, and risk becoming part of that 96% who fail? Or will you accept the math, ditch the perfectionism, and just start walking a little bit today? The science is incredibly clear, the steps are laid out right in front of you, and the choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.